This is a big paradigm shift, and funny enough, it's gotten more controversial as time goes on because we're so brainwashed into thinking that debt is the answer. We just need to use it the right way. We got to
Mm.
play the game the right way, and it's almost like we now exist in this matrix. And I'm trying to show people, hey, there's a whole world outside of this fake one that we've created for ourselves.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Higher Purpose, of Vanderbloemen podcast. I am your host, Brett Connolly, and joining me as she does every week, every episode, my co-host, my co-worker, my co-friend, Sarah Gonzalez.
Hey, we're back.
We're so back.
We're so back.
Again.
Another episode.
We're doing it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's pretty good. Yeah, no complaints.
Yeah?
Yeah, good day.
Just continuing to go through it. It's Friday,
It's Friday.
for us. I don't know
Yeah,
when people
you're
will be listening, but man, it's been a grind, but this has probably been the thing that I've been looking forward to the most all week. So we
Yeah.
saved the best for last,
last.
before the weekend, and we have George Kamel in the house, at least virtually.
Yeah.
So George, thank you so much for giving some of your time to us this Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And man, I just kind of want to kick it to you of just sharing a little bit about your story, your role with Dave Ramsey, and man, I just think your voice influences so many people in
Yeah.
positive ways that get stuck. Maybe they don't know they're stuck.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of want to give you the floor. So thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor to be with you guys. And, I kind of joke that God uses the least of these. I feel like one of those Bible characters who are like, me? You want me to? I can't do that. And so it's been a real fun journey over the last 11 years here at Ramsey, starting from intern to temp to random marketing jobs, all the way up to host and now Ramsey personality, getting to spread the Ramsey message and help folks become debt free and carry the torch to the next generation.
Yeah.
So I don't, I don't take that lightly, that the responsibility and weight, but also the joy that comes with all of that. So it's been really fun, and we can dive into the entire story from start to finish. How much time do you guys have?
Go for it. Give us what you want.
No, I'd love to hear just a little bit about the start. How did you had mentioned the internship. Is that like the direction you wanted to go in your career, or were you just exploring it and landed on it?
When I was a young boy, I thought, when I grow up, I want to be an intern. No,
That's the dream job. I'm still an intern.
I grew up in the Boston suburbs, and I had immigrant parents. They're in the Middle Eastern Arab Baptist community. If you're Arabic Baptist out there, if you're one of the few, the proud, shout out. And so I grew up in this culture where my parents were real supportive of whatever I wanted to do, but also 90% of my family were engineers and medical professionals and nurses and doctors. And so I was kind of the black sheep creative guy who was like, I just want to skateboard and make movies with my friends. Like that was me. And so growing up, I just wanted to create. I think that's what I was wired to do. That's what God put me on this earth to do, was to create, to entertain. And it's weird now being on this side, I kind of get to do that, which is so, so cool. And it meandered, of course. I went to college in Boston for a little bit, thought I was going to be a film director, dropped out of college, was working at the Apple Store, got fired from the Apple Store,
Wow.
moved from Boston to Mobile, Alabama, which is the natural trajectory for a
Absolutely.
young man. And I ended up finishing school at a little private Christian school called University of Mobile with a communications degree. And like many out of college, you're going, well, there's got to be a job now, right? You just get handed a job once you graduate. I did the work, give me a job. And I had this dream job of, I don't know if you guys have heard of Monster Jam. It's like the big Christian, arena thing they do. And I was going to get to be the host for the college to be like, hey, we're giving away a $10,000 scholarship from University of Mobile. And I was banking on getting that job after graduation. And it was dangled. And I went to Boston for the summer to be home with family. And at the very end of summer, I get an email that says, hey, we've passed on you as a candidate for this position. Best of
No.
luck. Y'all, I was crushed.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was putting all my eggs in that basket. What am I going to do now?
Right.
And so I went back to Mobile. I worked for a telecom company doing marketing and website stuff and photo and video, just kind of my marketing Swiss knife skills. And I ended up hearing about this guy named Dave Ramsey, and he had these like personalities, and one of them was John Acuff. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait, John, stuff Christians like? I love his blog. I
Yeah.
love his blog. And so I reached out to John on Twitter because I'd heard he was looking for kind of a writer, social media strategist guy. And so I just was so persistent with John over DMs, like, hey, I can help. I can help. Get me in touch with someone. He got me in touch with HR at Ramsey, and I ended up getting an internship to help John with social media and his book Start and all of that stuff back in 2013.
Wow. You literally slid into his DMs.
That's incredible.
Literally.
That's iconic.
And so you
And I was so persistent. He could, I think finally he was like, I'm just going to pass this guy off to someone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it ended up working out.
There you go.
So that's how I got into Ramsey. I didn't know much about Dave. I knew Financial Peace University and that
Right.
Dave was the money guy, but really I was drawn to John and the creative way he was bringing humor and heart to something near and dear to my heart, which was, faith and Christian culture and making
Yeah.
fun of it and helping us grow and all that good stuff.
I love it.
well played. So you came in and you were helping with his book, and now you fast forward and you have your book.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet that's got to be a little surreal for you, and I see it back there and in the background. And so I want to hear a little bit about like what put that subject matter on your heart to write this message at this time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, when I started at Ramsey in 2013, I was a broke average millennial. I had $40,000 in debt from college loans plus credit cards. And I was, behind the surface, I was frustrated, anxious, scared, depressed, cynical, angry, all of the emotions, as one is at 23, going, I'm broke and I did everything everyone told me to do. And following the proven plan here at Ramsey, I kind of became the Ramsey test tube baby. I was the poster child for how the baby steps can work for anyone because I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't come from money.
Yeah.
I fell for a bunch of money traps. And so getting out of debt in 18 months, following the Ramsey debt snowball plan and the baby steps and building wealth and going from broke to millionaire in under 10 years, following the plan,
Right.
that's what caused me to go, oh, I'm looking at the internet now in 2023 going, everyone's saying there's no hope. Everyone's saying someone at the White House needs to fix this. And someone's saying it's all the boomers' fault and the economy and I'll never get ahead. And, well, oh, wait, debt is a tool to be leveraged, but it's also the thing that's holding us all back and it needs to be forgiven. I'm so confused.
Right.
And so I wrote this book as the kind of manual, the passing of the torch, the Gen Z millennial translator of the Ramsey plan, showing people exactly how the system is designed to keep them broke,
Yeah.
showing them that it's not all their fault, but it's their responsibility,
Yeah.
and then showing them a proven plan to rise above the system, to opt out completely of this rat race that we've created for ourselves and live with more peace, more joy, more freedom. And it's not an opinion, it's my personal experience packed with data and facts.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to do is get into people's heads, go, I know what your objections are to the Ramsey plan. I know why you're saying it can't be you. I know why you're saying maybe not today. And I want to convince you in this persuasive argument that this plan is for you and it's for you today in today's world.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for writing this book, honestly, because I feel like there's not enough of a conversation. Money's kind of like taboo, I feel like, to more of the Gen X, my parents' age. And I'm so thankful that we've gotten it to where it's more of it's a normal conversation these days, I feel like, to start talking about those kinds of things. But for you to be able to put your testimony, like this is your story, and then also putting in that data is super helpful for people. Can you kind of tell us a little bit? I know a lot in the book you talk about toxic money culture and you kind of referenced it. And I'm sure you talk about this on all your interviews, but we got a lot of Gen Z listeners and millennial listeners. So I just kind of want to hear what that means to you.
Yeah, this is a big paradigm shift. And funny enough, it's gotten more controversial as time goes on because we're so brainwashed into thinking that debt is the answer. We just need to use it the right way. We got to play the game the right way. And it's almost like we now exist in this matrix. And I'm trying to show people, hey, there's a whole world outside of this fake one that we've created for ourselves. So this toxic money culture represents this financial system. And it seems like they're all in cahoots together. The credit score people, the credit card companies, the car loan companies, the student loan companies, the mortgage companies, all of the investing traps that are out there. It's like they all exist to just add one more payment to our life. But it's affordable. And add one more payment to our life. And so we start to stack this weird game of Jenga, and all of a sudden, there's a health issue. Take the Jenga piece out. The whole thing comes crumbling down.
Yeah.
That's most Americans. And it's become land of the free and home of the broke. And I still think this is the greatest country. I'm very hopeful and optimistic, but I think the key is the person in the mirror needs to go, hey, these credit card companies with big buildings downtown, hey, Capital One sponsoring the Taylor Swift tour while I can't afford tickets to the Taylor Swift tour, maybe they're not, maybe they don't have my best interests at heart.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
they actually exist to keep me in a vicious cycle of needing more credit, a better interest rate, a lower payment that I can manage.
Right.
And I don't see debt as a thing to be managed. I see it as an infection that needs an antibiotic to get rid of completely. And most people just go, well, debt is normal. I'm always going to have a car payment. One day, maybe my student loans will be forgiven. I'll just die with this debt. That's the kind of stuff
Yeah.
that I hear, and it breaks my heart because I'm
Yeah.
going, if you're just willing to sacrifice for 2 years, the next 20 can be amazing.
Yeah.
But most people just can't see that far ahead. And that's what I hope this book does for them, is give them that hope.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like somebody spoke this over my husband and I when we first got married, and we both have degrees in worship ministry, and we love getting to do ministry together. And they said, the guy straight asked, he was like, "Do you guys have any debt?" And we were like, feels personal, but yeah, I was like, I have student loans. I have a good chunk of student loans. He was like, all right, well, figure out how to get rid of it, because debt is one of the first things that's going to make you say no to something.
Wow,
And
that's powerful.
I was like, well, but not really. Like, you can just figure it out. And he's like, no, it'll make you say no. You can't move and relocate because you don't have the cash flow. You can't say yes to that ministry job because the pay's too low when you guys have the house payment and the car payment. What are you going to do? And I was like, okay. And so I'm so thankful that that was spoken over us. And so we've just had to make some really different choices. We've been very different from a lot of our friends who were taking vacations or getting the dream car early or buying the house already or doing all those things. And obviously, like, the Lord's been faithful to provide. But talk a little bit about, like, the sacrifice side of what it looks like to get debt free, because it's like not that much fun sometimes. There is absolutely joy in it, and it's so worth it and rewarding. But I think that culture right now is preaching the have fun. Like, you're young, you're in your 20s. It's okay if you have some debt. It's okay if you have some student loans. Like, just take the vacation, get the car, because we all have debt.
Yeah,
so talk
'cause
about the sacrifice.
We all need Instagram content.
We have to have
you
it.
got to push that out.
We have to
That's
have it.
Nobody, you can't post about your '09 Honda Civic and get likes. No one's like, yeah, way to go, man.
Nice car.
That's the YOLO mentality. That's you only live once, and so, like, I'll save later, and well, I got to do this while I'm young. I got to go into debt and travel when I'm young, because when I'm older, I won't be able to. And really, it's just justifying childlike behavior is what we're doing. And the biggest thing, I talk about this in the book, is the gap between FOMO and JOMO. So FOMO is the fear of missing out. That's what's causing us to go, I can't miss out. I can't miss out. It's now or never.
Yeah.
And JOMO says, hey, this is the joy of missing out. There is joy in knowing I'm running a race that's for me. I'm not running someone else's race, because as
Yeah.
we know, there's no finish line.
Right.
When you're trying to keep up with everyone around you, you're always going to be miserable.
Right.
Even when you make more money, you're going to surround yourself with people that make more money, and you're going to go, well, $1 million's not enough. I need 2 million now. And so the goalpost always moves unless you're grounded with your faith,
Right.
with your values, with your goals, with a vision. So that's what I love about JOMO. You're willing to sacrifice knowing there is joy in where you're going.
Yeah.
You're going to get freedom on the other side. And the problem is, we look at that 2-year sacrifice of getting out of debt. That's the average for most people. 18 to 24 months. We found most people become completely consumer debt free, everything
Wow.
but the mortgage. And that's not a long time. But if you ask a 22-year-old to do something for 2 years, it's going to feel like
That's
an
right.
eternity.
Yeah, that's fair.
When you talk to a 50-year-old and you go, hey, 2 years, they go, oh yeah, that passed in an instant. It's a blink of an eye. And like I mentioned, most people will just live in kind of this mediocre, I'm going to manage the payments, and maybe one day, after I have a bunch of kids and a mortgage and way more responsibility, maybe then I'll start taking my finances seriously.
Yeah.
And so I tell the young people, hey, don't squander these years. I know you're not making as much as you will one day, but you're able to sacrifice. You actually have the energy to go out and do Uber and Lyft at night.
Yeah.
Versus me as an old guy, a dad now. I'm like, getting out after 8 p.m. It's not happening. Don't do it. And so sacrifice is so worth it. And also, it became kind of addictive when I found out how much margin I was creating. So I talk about this in the book. Spend less plus make more. That's the formula to have more margin in your life. And it became kind of fun to go, hey, what other areas could I spend less on? Because I realized none of it was really bringing me joy. I was like, I can Marie Kondo half of the stuff out of my life. Like, I'm not using that subscription. I was kind of being lazy when it came to shopping and meal prepping. I already have all these clothes in the closet that I don't wear. Why would I go buy more? And so as you start to look at every facet of your life and you realize I can do better here, and on top of that, go, what are the areas I can make more? Not all side hustles have to be miserable.
Yeah.
Some of the side hustles I did, they brought me a lot of joy. It was fun. I was working with people that I loved working with. I was doing marketing consulting. I was building websites. I was honing skills that were helping me at my full-time job and helping me grow in that side. And so all of that, while it helped me become debt-free, I think it helped me become more intentional. And that bled into every area of my life. I went from an impulsive toddler into an intentional adult by following this plan.
That's good.
Yeah, and as we've talked with people on the podcast, it seems like people actually tend to discover themselves with the side hustles.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of a sudden that becomes the passion, and that kind of changes the trajectory of their life sometimes. And you know, in the book, we're talking about, hey, there's your story in it as well, not just the data. And I think we discussed it briefly, just kind of, you're talking about the internship and things of that nature, but man, you speak from experience when you're talking about the toxic money culture. What's kind of your debt story?
Well, I grew up in a house that was sort of like, hey, we're doing well, don't worry about it. And so when it came to college, I just thought, oh, God, I guess they got some secret money. We're going to cover college. What I didn't know, it was, well, we're going to be able to take out loans. And this financial aid that was given to me was really just loans with a slightly lower rate. I'm like, okay, I didn't understand what any of that meant. I was like, okay, whatever we got to do to go to college, great.
Right.
And so when I graduated, I didn't even know how much debt I had until I pulled my credit report because I had identity theft. So I pulled the report to see, okay, what actually happened? Some weird cell phone accounts got open in my name. And then I realized all the stuff that this guy did. And I was like, oh, gosh, that's more than I make in a year. Like, I owe $40,000 in debt to Discover and American Express and Sally Mae and Navient. And I had that lump in my throat, pit of the stomach feeling going, how am I going to get out of this? It didn't feel good to see where all those payments were going. And I think too many college students, the parents didn't know how to handle money. They have their own shame, guilt, baggage, and stuff they're dealing with. They don't talk to the kids about it. And so naturally, the kids fall for the same traps.
Yeah.
And in my house, we are stopping the generational curse of we're not going to go into debt. This is a family value. We're not the type of person to owe anyone money, because Proverbs 22:7 says the borrower is slave to the lender. It's not a sin, but I don't know about you, that's not a fun place to be.
Right.
To owe people money. And so that's a value system we put in place. And we had our baby girl a year ago now. And there's been so much more joy to not worry about money stress. And my wife was able to stay home because we followed the Ramsey plan. And so when it came time to the conversation, it was an emotional one for her to let go of her 9-year career here at Ramsey, but it wasn't a financial discussion. It was no fear or like, how are we going to make things work?
Yeah.
We had become debt free so that we had more margin and options and freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what it can look like when you do it that way. So that's sort of the debt story, getting out of it. What led me to go, if it's possible for an average George, it's possible for everyone out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wasn't making a lot. I was an intern into an hourly temp working 20 hours a week into my first salary job in 2013. And I wasn't even making 40 grand.
Right.
And so just want to encourage those that are starting out, where you are today is not where you're going to end up if you decide to put the right habits in place.
Yeah. I want to talk about that specifically, because I think we have a lot of listeners that, our whole thing is talking about stewardship of life. How do we steward this one life that we live? And also a lot of it has to do with careers. A lot of the decisions that we're making, the 40 hours of our week that we're spending, the salary that we're making, all of that kind of ebb and flow. Talk about the decision and the faith that it took to say, I have 40K of debt. I'm not even making that annually. I'm an average George. I can still do it. Like, how did you make the plunge to just say, it's going to be really hard, but I want it to be worth it, and so I'm just going to do it?
Well, number one, I realized I wasn't alone, which was so freeing, because I thought I was the only idiot who made all these mistakes. And then I went through Financial Peace University, and everyone's talking about their debt and what their goals are, and putting myself in a class with real people, with real accountability and community and support. It was a game changer.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, there's no shame here. Like, we're all trying to grow. Forget about the past. All right, we have a mess, whatever. We're all going to clean this thing up, and we're going to cheer each other on.
Yeah.
That was a huge part of my journey. Obviously, my coworkers here at Ramsey. If you work at Ramsey, it's going to put a fire under your butt. No one's swiping the credit card in the cafeteria downstairs.
Sure.
I guarantee you that. And so working at Ramsey plus Financial Peace University, that really was such a game changer for me to feel supported and make that shift and make that plunge,
Yeah.
because it was scary to cut up your credit cards. But when 3 other people just cut up theirs, you're like, oh, me next, me next.
Mm.
And so it gives you permission when someone else goes first. And I think that's what Dave Ramsey has done for the last 30 something years, was talking about it openly, giving everyone permission, and saying, hey, I'm the idiot that went first. I made my own money mistakes and I changed, and you can too.
Yeah.
That's the hope that we've been selling for 35 years now
Yeah.
at Ramsey, and it will continue on for the next 30.
Yeah.
And I know you're talking about like in the book specifically, and probably people that you're talking with regularly, just saying, well, this is just the system that we're in. You know, you just got to accept it, you know, whatever. What do you say to them?
Well, people think they can't opt out, and it's because they've never been shown a different way. And so I try to have a lot of empathy to go, hey, listen, I get it. I remember thinking the exact same thing.
Right.
I'm going, okay, that's a cute idea to opt out of the system, but how am I going to live? And I go, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, I need to get a car. Okay, well, you're going to pay cash for a car. We can talk about how to create a savings muscle and build the discipline and how to buy a reasonable used car with cash, but you have to also go, oh, I don't have to take on a car payment. That's the big shift mentally people have to make, because there's 2 types of people. The one that goes, all right, I'm going to save up $10,000 over the course of a year or 2 years and buy a car with cash, or the person that goes, I'm going to buy a $45,000 car with nothing down on a loan and then complain that the economy is stifling my growth. And so you have to make that decision and go, I'm going to draw a line in the sand and be on the other side. So that's what really has helped me. Even in the book talking about this, I talk about how to opt out of the credit card game. And they go, well, George, how am I going to travel? How am I going to? And I go, nope, been there, done that. Here's the policy on that. Here's the research. Here's the data. And like, I think I hope that my experience plus all of the data, I'm literally copying and pasting the policy from Visa and MasterCard and the car rental company to show you that you can use a debit card. You can use cash. So at that point, you can't argue whether or not it's possible. You just have to say, am I willing to do this or not?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Another question we love to ask, and I'm excited because, you know, you talked about your daughter a little bit, and your wife a little bit. How do you balance? You released a book, you have a job, you have a show that you host, you do a lot of different things, as well as are a family guy, and your family is a huge priority. How do you balance all of the above? You know, you're a public figure. Like, how do you balance all of that, keeping family a priority, keeping your faith a priority? What does that look like for you?
That's been probably the most challenging part, stepping into this role for the last few years. It's very demanding, and Dave goes hard. I mean, the man, he's in his 60s and he's still here doing the show 4 days a week. He finally took Fridays off when he hit 60. That was his big, like, you know, partial retirement plan.
Oh, wow.
And so
now you get to do podcasts on Friday.
Yeah.
Exactly. So here I am. But that's been a challenging part, is balancing that, especially when I was writing a book. I mean, there's seasons where you have to go, there's not a lot of balance here. And I had to just be blunt with my wife and go, listen, I'm about to write a book. I don't know how to do this. It's going to take me a long time. There's going to be nights, weekends, blood, sweat, tears. Will you be with me and support me through this?
Yeah.
And she's a trooper. And then there's been seasons where it's been lighter and we go on vacations, and I make sure that I'm home at 5 o'clock every day. And, you know, we have a great work-life balance here at Ramsey. And there's also things like tomorrow, I'm going to be on Fox and Friends at, you know, bright and early on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And that's a part of the role, part of life. And so we've just kind of made peace with the fact that this is a weird job and there's a lot of joy in it and there's some awesome benefits and there's also some sacrifices that have to be made.
Yeah.
And that's partially why she ended up staying home. She was my coworker here at Ramsey for a lot of years. She was at the top of her game, an executive assistant to one of our board members who's a right-hand man to Dave. And she was crushing it, so good at her job. And she realized, you know what? There is more purpose. I am better off, you know, raising this child that I love than I am serving as an assistant here. And so while she is missed and she's amazing at what she does, she's an even more amazing mom. And to me, that's the role that you're going to really, like, when you're in your deathbed, you're going to go like, man, I'm glad I did that thing.
Right.
You're going to say, I'm glad I did what was right for our family.
Right.
And I realize that is a luxury. There's a lot of people who would love to stay home and they can't do it for financial reasons or other reasons.
Yeah.
And so I understand the privilege that we have of just being able to do that. But there's been so much joy in this season of learning how to navigate this and what does her life look like and my life look like. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. There's not another thing I could be doing as happily as working here at Ramsey. And I've done it all. I've had 6 jobs here, so I hope this one
Oh,
sticks.
wow.
Because I don't. There's no promotions. There's no like
Right, right.
senior Ramsey personality. You just this is it.
This is it. This is it.
Well, not only do you have the book, right, Breaking Free from Broke, but you also have a social media presence that's popping off,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
you're always having new content out there. And so I just wanted to ask you, is there maybe a reel or something that you like the most or you think is the funniest? Like you probably have the one or two you're like, man, I'm the most proud of this. Even if it doesn't have the most likes, maybe it does.
Oh man, that's a good question. Because some of them are like they do really well, and like that was fun, and then some of them you put your heart and soul into, and nobody cares.
Yeah, you're like, this is
Yeah.
the jackpot one. Oh, why?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
No
Well,
views.
I like to have fun. And so as much as I love to dole out financial advice, and we'll upload a lot of clips from the Ramsey show or from my YouTube channel or from Smart Money Happy Hour and all the shows I do.
Yeah.
But some of the most fun we have is we have a social media guy here, Nicholas, who helps with my content, and he'll just have some like wacky idea and I just go with it and he edits it together and makes it great. So that's what we've been doing lately. We've been going out of the office. We'll go out in the wild into, grocery stores and Sam's Club or Costco or Trader Joe's. And so
Yes.
lately there was one that popped off and it was me at the Trader Joe's checkout line. And the guy asked me, hey, do you have any weekend plans? And it's me going, these are my weekend plans. And you're just sort of staring off like I have no life. And that one, it's like 2.3 million
Yeah.
views on that. And you're like, what?
That one
And then the
got
one
me.
that you-
That one got
Yeah,
me.
the one you're like doling out your heart and soul, like here's the meaning of life. It gets 10 likes, one comment. You're like,
Right.
people just want to be. Here's what I realized: people are scrolling social media to escape and be entertained. They're not looking for
Yeah.
a financial course while they're
Sure.
looking at Instagram.
Sure.
And so that's why those do well, is because they love to entertain and they go, I'm going to share that with a friend. Versus me telling someone to sell their car because they're broke. You don't really want to share that with your friend who's broke. You know what I mean? There's a level of just like, this isn't the fun thing to share in the DMs.
Right. That one's a little bit tougher.
So yeah, anything that's humor based where we're kind of doing a little sketch, those are always my favorite bits and things to do on social.
How much of your like funny content do you get to come up with? Like how much of it you're like, okay, wait, guys,
Ooh.
I have this idea.
I will send Nicholas a lot of stuff in the DMs. We have like a little DM channel, and I'll just go, hey, this is funny. We should do a version of this. But really, I feel like my creative potential has been tapped because of how busy I am. And that's one thing,
Sure.
truthfully, one of my goals this year is to tap back into that. Because we have a friend, Ken Coleman, who I'm sure you guys know. Has he
Yeah.
been on the show before?
I think Williams had him on the Vanderbloemen podcast.
That makes sense. So Ken has a great Get Clear career assessment. And I took that assessment and it shows you exactly, here's what you're wired to do. Here's professions that would make sense for you. And on there, it literally said you were created to create with the purpose of creating. It was like create. And I
Dang.
realized like, oh, that's what I miss. A lot of what I do is not creating new things and
Right.
bringing a lot of the creative brain power to that. And so anytime I get to do that, I feel energized. Those are the days you go home and you're like, I'm feeling the juice today.
Yeah. right.
And the days where it's kind of there's days where it's just the monotonous minutia of I went to meetings, I answered the emails. We all
Right.
have those days. And
Right.
so that's something I need to tap back into. And I encourage everyone to take the Get Clear career assessment because you'll go, oh, that's why I feel this way. I'm not doing what I was wired to do by the creator.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important.
And this is the question we ask every guest, and this is kind of how we land the plane. And that's just as we're thinking about people who are listening, they're starting off in their careers, maybe they're wrestling with their call to ministry, maybe it's just trying to figure out all the things they don't even know yet. And so we talked a little bit about it at the beginning of just your story, but what do you know? Is there like one or two nuggets of now that you wish you would have known then when you were 20, 21, 22?
Oh my gosh. That's a great question. There's so many. I would say the main thread from my career was be excellent in the thing that you were hired to do. The thing that you were tasked with today, be absolutely excellent in it while going, what are the opportunities for the thing that I really want to do? Because I think most people out there,
So good.
they're not in their sweet spot yet. They were like, all right, I'll take this job. It's maybe close to what I'm doing, maybe not.
Right.
What they do is they don't put effort into the main thing because they don't care. And then they expect for someone to hand them a new opportunity. And you're going, why would someone give you an opportunity when you haven't been managing the one you have well? And so in hindsight, the thing I did well was I sunk my teeth into everything. And after I was a social media intern and I was running a blog for our recruiting team for HR as a temp. Then I was an email marketing coordinator for 2.5 years. Then I was doing social media coordinating for the personalities for a year.
Oh, wow.
Then I got an opportunity to be a host and MC. And all of that was because I was excelling in my role.
Right.
Then on the side, I went, hey, can I host this internal event for our team? I think there's a great opportunity here. I'd love to kind of give it to zhuzh it up a little bit with some humor and creativity and, kind of bring the team together with some inside jokes. And that's what I did at our Battle of the Bands event we do internally. Our team members form bands, they get on stage, they do covers, and we all vote for them, and it's an awesome rock and roll show. And I decided to host instead of being in the bands. And that's when they went, hey, that guy can carry himself on stage. He's got some charisma. He can entertain. What if he hosted our Ramsey events and the Ramsey show live stream during the radio breaks? And so that's when I took over for Ken Coleman, backfilled him, and stepped out of these kind of marketing desk roles and into a more public role. And I hosted for 4 years. I was hosting every Ramsey event.
Wow.
I was coming up with new podcast ideas, and I helped us create our very first narrative podcast series called Borrowed Future about the student loan crisis.
Yeah.
And all of that was on top of being, doing my job well. I went, hey, I see an opportunity here. Here's how it aligns with the company mission. Would you let me give this a shot as a test? And I found, a lot of the times I was trying to go, please give me a shot, give me a shot. It was when I put my head down and just worked my butt off that someone else noticed. Another leader said, hey, what about that guy? And it was always a shock to me because I was too busy working instead of, whining about why I'm not getting the next thing. And so I did a lot of things wrong during those 11 years, but the things I did right was just excelling at what I do while making it clear that I think there's an opportunity here and I would love to be the guy to go for it.
Yeah.
And over time, you get more rope and more rope. And all of a sudden they went, hey, this guy's passionate about a message. He knows how to communicate. He can handle himself in front of a mic and a stage. He represents our brand really well. And that's when I was knighted Ramsey personality back in 2021, hosting the show with Dave for the very first time. And I'm sitting next to Dave on the Ramsey show. I forgot I was a host in the show because I'm sitting there going, I'm watching Dave Ramsey do the Ramsey show. I was like enamored. I just thought I was listening to the Ramsey show. And then Dave looks at me. He's like, what do you think, George? And I was like, oh, I'm in it. I'm inside of the show. I need to talk. And so it's been such an honor and privilege to step into that. And I'm still learning and growing.
Yeah.
I'm getting my certified financial planner, kind of credentials and going through the education because I just want to grow even more in financial knowledge and helping our fans take that next step. Once they become debt free, how do they build wealth the right way, the Ramsey way? And so it's been a lot of fun, and the team here is incredible. And I'm sure it's a similar vibes at Vanderbloemen. With I know I'm at a much smaller scale. We Dave likes everything. He's like, go big or go home. Here in Tennessee, and I know you guys are in Texas.
That's right.
So we have an amazing team, and so that's why I haven't jumped ship. A lot of the trends is, you need to leave a job every year, or else you'll never get ahead.
Yep.
And my path was very different. I stuck to the same place with 6 jobs over 11 years. And it's where I am today, and it's why. Because I've sunk my teeth in this place. I know it like the back of my hand, and I'm so passionate about it. So I'm not going anywhere.
Love it.
Unless Dave fires me.
I don't see that one happening.
But I think he needs me at this point. He's trying to retire one day.
Right.
That's what I've heard.
In the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's the whispers that are coming on the internet for
there
sure.
We go.
Well, George, thank you so much. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for your transparency online. I know for our generation, it's been a huge blessing to get to benefit from your honesty mixed with all of your humor as well. It reaches a lot of people. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for being on the show. We really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thank you. You guys made it easy, and congratulations on the show. I know it's early days, and one day we're going to look back, and I'm going to go, I was episode 10.
That's right.
Whatever it was. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Thanks, George. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of A Higher Purpose of Vanderbloemen podcast. If you want to listen to any of our other episodes, you can go to vanderbloemen.com/podcast. You can also find us on any platforms that you listen to, such as Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts and anywhere else that you stream. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.